Good evening, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. Before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. I would now like to welcome Mohit, our speaker for today's session. Mohit is a cloud operations manager at Configit and Microsoft MVP for Azure. He is passionate about sharing his knowledge and expertise with others and has delivered over 60 sessions in international conferences and local communities. He also enjoys playing chess and has a keen interest in blockchain and Web 3.0. He is always looking for a new way to expand his knowledge and skills and is dedicated to helping others learn and grow in the field of cloud operations and Azure. But for now, I will hand over to Mohit to begin the session. But before Mohit start the session, let me bring him in to the stream. Hi Mohit.
Hey Vashmita, thanks for letting me in.
Thank you. The stage is all yours. Let me bring your slide in.
Sure. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depends on the area from you are joining. And before I start, I think all of you who are in the session right now, you all are a rock star because we have a special festival in India. And if you're joining from India and you're spending time on learning something new, I think you are the real community rock star. So kudos to all of you. So happy Holi to all the people who are joining from India. And also, special thanks to Rashmita for organizing this. And also, we have a very special day today. It's also a Women's Day. So, for all the ladies out here, happy Women's Day to you. Now, a bit introduction about myself. My name is Mohit Chabra, and I work as a cloud operations manager in Config Germany. I take care of overall operations of our SaaS systems, but also making sure that those systems are safe and secure. It's part of my job to make sure that the customer's data in the cloud is secure and also the servers are up and running 24 by 7. So that's how I explain my job to my parents who are non-tech. So they don't understand tech at all. But I say to them that I have to make sure that the websites are up and the servers are up 24 by 7. And also I have to make sure that they are secure. So today I'm going to share my experience that I have learned over the years on security. So I have been working with Azure from last 10 plus years. So I was one of the early adopters of Azure. So I started working on it when I was a student. And since then, it has been a great journey. And today I am going to share some of the things that I have learned over the years with you. So, if you have not attended my session before, I will give you a brief idea on how do I operate. So, I try to answer three questions in general. So, the three questions are why, what, and how. So, first of all, before we get into what we are doing, right, we need to understand why. What is the need of this? Why we are talking about security? Why it's very important, and we have to be very serious about it. Second, what can we do, and then how we can implement it. So if you understand these three questions, you have a clear understanding of what we are trying to say. So that would be the agenda for me for the day as well. And yes, so before further ado, I will jump on to my presentation. So on the how part, sorry, on the why part, the security is very much important because attacks are very cheap. They are much cheaper than what you can imagine. So you can hire an attacker for as low as $250. That's it. That's around 20,000 rupees if you are from India. and you can get your mobile devices hacked for less than a coffee. So I'm spending more on my coffee than these attackers are find using for attacking or hijacking your mobile phones or a computer device. So it is very cheap. You might be shocked to see that the stolen passwords, it's all over the internet. So if you go to dark web, you'll be able to identify that your passwords are selling it for so cheap. You might be using same passwords across multiple sites. If you're not using it, that's a very good strategy. You shouldn't use it as well. But there are a lot of people out there who have common passwords across multiple platforms, and I was one of them as well. So I'm not going to deny that. It's something that I have learned over the years that it's such a bad strategy, because using same passwords, if one of them is compromised, your whole websites, wherever you have logged in, your whole accounts are compromised at once. And you might not know about it, but your passwords might already be out there in the dark web. So I think I was also a victim of it. I found out that I registered to one of the sites, and that got compromised, and the credentials were out there. And since then, it's been probably like 8, 9, 10 years. I don't even remember how many to be precise, but it's been a long time that I changed the strategy, and I wanted to make sure that I don't use the same passwords on all the different sites. So that's very cheap. So you can get millions of passwords for like $150. Mind it, these numbers are a bit old, so I don't have the latest data with me after the inflation. So recently we were hit by an inflation across the world, and so I'm hoping that these attackers and hackers, these guys have also hiked their prices, but not by a lot. So if you see the on the screen, the prices that we have currently, it's very cheap, right? So I spend more on a dinner right now than they're spending to get a device hack, or basically do a ransomware attack on you. They also work on a sharing model where they share the revenue, so they have a full-fledged business out of it. It's like if you earn money, I share a commission out of it. Normally around 30-40% of the overall money that you have earned, they will take the cut, and that's it. So they have a full-fledged business. So it's a business of being a bad guy is very good, but I don't want to be in that business. I want to be in the business of security, and I want to make sure that me, my company, and my clients are secure at any point of time. Also, we have denial of service attacks. So you might be thinking that okay, because of it's a distributed attack, it might take a lot of money. It's not. You can see that it's only cost on an average $766, and that's nothing. So it's very cheap to get attacked. It's very cheap to be compromised, but it's very difficult to be secured, and it's very difficult and expensive to basically get compromised and the consequences of that. So what do we have over here? How can we secure it? We have a lot of other options that we are going to talk about today. We have some of the native controls, which Azure itself is giving you out of the box, and you need to understand how to use those toolbox. But I want to talk about I will talk about SIM, but I want to talk about passwordless. So I was just talking about how passwords are not secure, and we have identified that over a period of time, every single one of you should know about it, that your passwords are not the best way of securing your accounts. That's why we have another concept of passwordless with Windows Hello, but it's not applicable everywhere right now. So you can secure your devices with Windows Hello, but it's like you cannot log in with into your accounts, into your Azure account, for example, with Windows Hello, right? So what can you do? It's very important that you have a multi-factor authentication kicked in. So you need to configure MFA, I think, for all the employees. But if it's not possible to put it for all the employees, for admin and people who have the privileges on your system, should definitely have MFA. You might think that it's quite basic, and what I'm talking is very basic and it's a common sense. I do agree with that point. So the answer is it is basic, but a lot of people are not doing it as well. So I was with one of my previous employer and I went to a very big company out here in Germany, so I cannot name them, but they are quite big. And I went there to basically look at their security setup and then give them advice based on my experiences and then help them out with improving their security posture. And I was shocked to see that they haven't done even the MFA for their admins, so which is quite basic. So we might think it's quite basic, but sometimes getting basic right is the most important question. So please make sure that happens before we jump onto any fancy solutions out there. Remember, you're only as secure as your weakest link. So it does not matter if you have put a lot of security tooling, but in the end, if one of the things is weak, you can be compromised. I I will give you an example. So I will ask you to go through the web. And recently, a few months back, we had an incident with one of the biggest cab sharing company in the world. They were compromised because they have some credentials out there in their internet, and one of the employees' credentials were compromised. And the attacker used their credentials to get into the network and then scan the network for open credentials, and from there they were able to hack a lot of the infrastructure for that cap sharing company. So it does not matter how much sophistication you have, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And I am going to keep emphasizing that fact, because that's what I do where I work as well with to my team. I manage a global team, and I it's very important for me to make sure that all of my employees who are in different part of the world, so I have people reporting to me from different geographical locations, so they understand the risk of it, because by the nature of itself it's very difficult to make sure that we are restricting the user spaces on IP, because I do have a very big global team where it is kind of impossible for me to keep a track of their IPs or their security posture. So it's very important, and which is I'm going to talk about in one of my next slide as well, on what we can do about it. Um, Microsoft gives you some tooling, and we're going to talk about it how we can implement those tooling in our setup to make sure that we are sound and secure. So talking about top 10, like that was the idea, right? So I'm going to give you top 10. So I was thinking about how should I present it. Then what should I add it in when I was thinking about this session? So I started with putting all sort of different technical offerings that we have from Microsoft. And I was looking, okay, what should be my top 10? I created a list out of it. And then I realized all of this is worthless unless we have the right people. If people does not understand it, how to use these tools, how to utilize this, will not be able to do anything. Right? It's a whole concept of you are only as strong as your weakest link, right? So I then went back and then put it into four different categories, categorize into four different categories. So in the people, process, technology, and the founding architecture. So everyone has its own value, and I'm going to talk about it now. So starting with people, so it's very important that the people understand what they are trying to do. So there are a lot of people who come from a security background, but they have been doing this security for on-premises setup, but the world has changed, the world has evolved with cloud, and so do they need to be evolved as well. So their experience that they had with Azure or on-premises might be useful with securing on-premises setup. But with Azure right now, it is, and I would say for other cloud providers as well. So what I'm saying right now is in general applicable to overall cloud security. So some of the terminologies and ideologies remain same. So you need to have the same mindset what we had, but you also have to understand that security in Azure is a shared model. So depends on the kind of offering that you're using from Microsoft or any other cloud provider. The security is a shared responsibility between the provider and you as the receiver of it. So if you are on IaaS, the security model is different, similarly for PaaS and SaaS. So I hope you all understand that. I don't want to get into deep of difference between three and then also talking about how security is associated with it. But the idea is the world is different and you need to evolve accordingly. So with cloud, it's very important you understand the terminologies of it, you understand the ideologies of it. So but you also understand how you keep on changing and upgrading. Of the biggest challenges that I have faced during my career, and I've dedicated my whole career to Azure, and I think what is one of my biggest challenges to make sure that I am always up to date with what's happening. And it's very, very challenging because Microsoft has a very big team working on Azure. And I started working on the V1 of Azure, the old portal, as you might remember. Some of you might remember it, most of you might not. Um, Things have changed drastically from there. And it's very difficult to unlearn and learn. So I had this experience where a lot of my colleagues who was quite good with Azure. They have built some of the best products on Azure at that point of time. And when the whole model changes to an ARM model, which every one of us uses right now, we used to call it at V2 at that point of time. And a lot of people were not able to unlearn what they have learned in the previous era of Azure and learn the new one because they were always trying to correlate. So sometimes it's very important to unlearn as well and then come up with a fresh mind and then learn on top of it. So this is why people are very important, and educating these people on the critical topic is very, very important. So you need to make sure that you're spending a lot of time and energy on a understanding the cloud journey and educating your team, educating your company, educating your employee about this cloud journey. So I see there are a lot of companies who are in the transformation of moving to cloud, or all companies who have moved to cloud. But then once you have moved to cloud, then the journey is not over. So you need to basically keep on optimizing to make sure you're making most of the cloud, and also not burning your hands or burning your money while doing it. So it's very important that you get to a level of sophistication with cloud journey. So you need to understand that you train your employees accordingly, and you also educate them on the different technical technology that is coming out of Azure. So these two topics are my top two. So I know you might be thinking about, okay, I came here to learn about the actual technical aspect, but all of that is useless if you don't understand these two. Trust me, I've been in this business for quite long to tell you that unless all of your team members understand what you're doing and they know the reason, they understand the value of it, you will not succeed. Period. So next two, so talking about processes, and it's very important that you understand the processes around it. And the idea is that you need to put processes when you're moving to cloud. I have been helping a lot of my clients to move to cloud, and I'm right now helping my current employer to be more SaaS friendly and then move to cloud with different applications and offer SaaS. But it's very important that we have a clear processes in place. And I'm going to talk about this in a bit of demo as well. But to give you a perspective, so it's very important that you understand the concept of zero trust. So you may ask, what is zero trust? So zero trust is a generic concept. It is not specific to Azure. So zero trust basically talk about making sure that there are no permissions to you by default. Uh, that means that everyone in the company, be it internal or external, so any coordinators will not have access. They will be checked first before they get the access. Sounds confusing, right? Let me give you an example, right? So let's say um, I have a toy at my home, and as a kid I love that toy. Now I want to make sure that that toy is kept on the shelf and no one uses it and play with it. But because it's kept on the shelf, now the shelf is internet for us because we are hosting things on internet. But so people have the capability to touch it, but you also don't want people to come and touch it, and only the right people who have access to it should be able to touch it. So what you will do, you can stand there and then make sure that you are watching it, so monitoring. You can hire a security guard for your toy and see, tell them, okay, please make sure that no one touches it, it's very important for me. And what the security guard will do, only he will check with every single individual if they have access or not. If they don't have access, they will not let them touch the toy. So only the people who are trusted, they will be allowed to play with your special toy. And the idea of zero trust is that by default you have to assume breach. So by default you have to say that people will not have access, and if a breach happens, how will we react? So you need to put processes for all sort of those things as well. Like, make sure that you know what to do in case of a mayday. A lot of people does not understand that point. So a lot of people does not understand that, okay, you need to prepare for the worst day as well. People go for happy sunny day and they don't know how to react if something goes wrong. It's very very important that you put your processes in place for mayday scenario as well. um how we can implement this part, so you understand what we have to do. How we have a concept of PIM that you can use, and RBAC. So what is RBAC? I'm going to start with that. RBAC means role-based access control. I'm going to show you on the portal as well how you can manage it. So we have different roles, and then based on those roles, you have to assign it to the individuals. But the idea is that by default, you have the least privileges on the system. So if you don't have to make any changes to the system, you should not have access to make changes to the system. There are a lot of my teams which is only there just to monitor it. So the team who is responsible for monitoring the system, but they cannot make any changes, should I give them the contributor access to those systems? The answer is no. Should I give them the owner permissions? The answer is no. But on the other hand, there is my team which is responsible for the whole infrastructure, the whole application, and also upgrades and whatsoever, right? So the overall DevOps life cycle around it. Um, so whether my team should have the access, the answer is yes and no. So my team should have the access, not a direct access to these infrastructure, but a capability to elevate themselves for a specific amount of time. So that means by default, they don't have the access, but they have the capability to get the access for a specific amount of time to make sure that they they basically make the most of it while they're working, and only use the system for a specific amount of time, and after that specific amount of time, their access will be revoked automatically. So this whole concept is called privilege identity management. I will say it once again: privilege identity management. And the idea is that you go to your Azure AD and set up your resources. So you need to be at, I think, P2 level of AD to take care of it. Please don't quote me on this one, but I think you need to have a premium license for AD to elevate this permission. So if you don't have that, ask your organization for it and set up PIM. It's very important. But also making sure from the RBAC, if you're not using PIM as well, Then with the RBAC, you assign the minimum roles, these privileges to your employees, to your colleagues who does not need the right access. So identifying the right access for the right individual is very important. And by default, taking that privileges out is also very, very important. Now, the next best practices, as we call it. So, rapid incident response. What does it mean? So we all have an incident response team. If not, we need to make sure that we have an incident response team in the company. But the idea is same, that what will be the processes if there is an incident. So if you are under attack, how you will react? First of all, you need to make sure that you're able to identify it, and we'll talk about how we can identify it in the upcoming slides. But you need to understand that it's very important. Once you identify it, you also have to react on it. So how do you react on it is it's very crucial. It's very important. But it's also very difficult. So unless you clearly define it for your team, that how you're gonna react on a specific incident, they will not know. So there are different kind of attacks, and the strategy for different kind of attacks would be different. For example, if I am having a DDoS attack on me, that means they are trying to bring my services down. So I need to make sure that I act accordingly. Whereas the phishing attack, for example, if I have a phishing attack on me, which was actually the case. So one of the attackers were trying to attack me this week, and they were impersonating my CEO of my current company, and they know how does he talk, probably they have done a lot of social engineering, and they use a different domain name to send me, but with the same name, and they start sending me emails impersonating as the CEO of my company. And if I'm not aware, I will click on the links that they are sending me, or basically reply to that email, and then there is a high chance that I will be a victim of their activity. So I don't want to do that. So I don't want. I understand it, and I immediately make sure that I have a process in place how to react in these scenarios. So be it phishing, be it DDoS attack, be it secure injection, be it any sort of attack that you're having, you need to have a clear identification of how you're going to react with the processes. So I can give you my example. So we have a SOC, and we have put together a lot of processes already to identify in a documentation way that if this is a kind of attack you have is the kind of attack, this is how you will identify and resolve it. And I understand that building this knowledge base is a very difficult task. It takes a lot of time, effort, and also experience, and that is fine. So that means that it's going to be an ongoing process throughout your journey. So you learn, you add it to your knowledge base, you train your employees, then there is something new you learn, and then keep on going to do. So the whole learning cycle continues throughout. um, then the next one is postal management. It's very, very important, and I'm going to show you quickly in a demo, which is coming real quick, on how easy it is to make sure that you can identify your poster. So, what is a poster? Poster basically is a security poster, and I'm going to talk a bit more about it. And the idea of a security poster is that something or someone scans your environment and give you some sort of a score, saying that okay, you are doing this, like it go through the checklist of best practices and seeing okay, out of 100, I think you are doing 90% things correctly. These are the 10 things. Based on the impact of these things, I've identified and weighted this score. And you can do better. You can work on these tasks and fix it. But it's also then very important then once you do it, um, because we are in the world of scaling, right? So we want to make sure that we don't keep on spending that same effort for multiple setups. So you automate it. So how do we automate? I'm also going to talk about that in one of the upcoming demo. Um, then we have the technology stack. So I talk about passwordless approach to you guys, how difficult, how easy it is, in fact, for a hacker to get your passwords. So it's very important that you put the MFA in. Then we also have some sort of firewalls, and think of this firewall as one of the gatekeepers. So I was talking about a security guard watching your toy, right? Similarly, let's say if you have organized a party and in a pub, and then you have a lot of guests coming in, but you have to make sure only the guests who are invited can come in and not the unwanted guests. So what you're going to do, you're going to either stand on the gate and verify it yourself, which is tedious because you don't understand how to verify it. It's not your job. You hire a bouncer who's trained, who knows how to handle people who have been coming it uninvitedly, so they can block the incoming of these people into the pub. Similarly, the firewall is also going to do the same way. So the firewall is going to block the network traffic, which is uninvited, so which does not have access to the resources underneath, and then basically make sure that you are at par with the security. Then native threat detection, it is also very important, and you might have heard about two of the offerings that we have in Azure. One of them is Defender for Cloud, and another one is Azure Sentinel. So I'm gonna talk a bit about it, but if you want to go in detail about it, you can Google for my name and these keywords, and then you'll be able to find content on YouTube itself. I've done separate in detailed sessions on these topics, so you can go through it. But I will give you a brief of idea on what it is and how you can basically manage it, how does it look like, and so on and so forth. So before I do, I want to make sure that there are no questions. I don't see any. I have one question. It's asked me, where are you now? So I am located in Germany and I'm in Germany, but I don't see any other question. So probably I'm gonna jump on the demo. So I have a big demo. Like, it's not a big because there are a lot of different moving particles in this session. So what I'm going to do instead is we are going to show you different possibilities, what is possible. So I talk about RBAC. So I'm going to use this subscription as an example, and then I am going to do resource groups. So you see I have different demos over here, some of the demos, some of my personal stuff that I've been using this account for. And now if you see that I have this different resource group, and if I go to over IAM, I can identify like that if someone wants to coordinate with this security setup that I have prepared, then instead of giving them the access to the resource, to the whole subscription, I'm giving them to the resource group, or I can go to the individual resources as well. So that's one AAV's privileges on the resource level, but also then on the permission level, we have to make sure about the resource privileges. So if I come over here, what you can do is you see this is the rows assignment, but then you can come over here on the rows and see there are plenty of rows which is designed to make sure that you give these privileges on to your individual employees and contributors in your company. So instead of giving them an honor and a contributor permission, you can give them, like for example, if we talk about monitoring, so if there's a colleague who's just responsible for monitoring, you can give them a monitoring contributor or a monitoring leader. So if you don't want them to update anything in your monitoring setup, be it everything on how you're monitoring and all sort of those stuff, so you can give a monitoring reader. So we have these privileges. We are basically managing these resources with the role based access control. So it's very important you identify it and then design your infrastructure accordingly. And then I talk about PIM. So PIM basically gives you the capability of elevating yourself for just-in-time access. I cannot showcase you the capability right now because this is my personal AD and for this demo, and I don't have a premium license for my personal AD. So, but it's quite simple. You can follow a lot of articles over there, and then based on that, you can implement it. So will be a lot of things that I will talk about, but not go in details because of the limitation of time that we have. But you can always feel free to reach out to me. I will share my LinkedIn details with you in the end, and then you can ask your questions with me on LinkedIn or identify the answers yourself. So my idea is to make sure that I'm trying to open up the horizon that you have for security on Azure. So after that, you can go deeper into the individual topics and then learn more about it. Then I talk about different firewall. Um, so you can stop the network traffic from the firewall. I created a dummy firewall over here. So this firewall makes sure that you can provide different policies, and based on the policies, it's going to allow or block the access on the network, and also it will help you in monitoring, and then you can send all this log to the SIM, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And you have to make sure that someone is watching and securing your network. So this Azure firewall will make sure that it is happening. So if I go to the manager here, I can come to the policy. I can create. So I'm creating a policy, and then I'm basically adding whether DNS setting should be applied by default. I'm not using a custom DNS server. TLS should be applied on this. So I'm not going to do this because then I have to enable and then put a certificate with managed identity and keyword. But that's also possible. Then you can create different rules, or there is also an option if you don't know what to do. So you can also import it from your existing setups from an Azure firewall somewhere else. So something like this. You can allow or deny DSS based on it, and then you can specify, let's say, IP addresses or IP group. And based on those IP addresses, it will allow or stop DSS on those resources which is behind this firewall. So similarly, we also have a threat intelligence, and I'm going to talk about it with Defender for Cloud, but this is how it's designed. And I also want to talk about security in general, like because what Microsoft is doing, and which is quite good because a lot of people didn't have the emphasis around security a few years back, and I think Microsoft identified it, and they started putting security in the main criteria so that everyone has the right visibility on the security. So if I created a simple SQL server, and I will talk about some of the ideologies that Microsoft is trying to emphasize on you to make sure that you are doing all these best practices by default and you have the right visibility around it. So A, they have a common Azure Active Directory. So that's also one of the things that I wanted to emphasize on that you should have one logging provider. So I have consulted some of my clients who have logins from Google, some of the services they're using from Google, some of them from Microsoft, and some of them from another vendor. So they have multiple logins, and managing multiple logins is a nightmare. So you should only have one identity provider is what I recommend. And what Microsoft is also doing is it's giving you uniformity across their um, services offerings, and what I can see is that with this uniformity, they are allowing you to log in with your AD accounts, which is secured with MFA, right? So Azure admin accounts, Azure directory accounts, admin accounts, it's that thing that they are basically giving you an access to you. So when you're creating a server, you have two options. You can have actually three options in precise. So you can have a SQL authentication, you can have Azure AD authentication, and you can have a mixed authentication, which allows you to authenticate both with SQL as well as Azure AD. But if you see, this is quite basic, but if you see, we have three other options as well. And one of them is Microsoft Defender for SQL. So if you see, it's saying to me that it's not configured. So it's giving you a gray dot. So it's saying that, okay, this is not configured over here, and you should configure it. As part of the best practices, they are giving you outright. So you don't have to basically go at different places and then enable it. You can enable it directly from the service itself. And before I do that, because I'm going to do that in a minute, I want to also talk about the other two options that we have. So by default, we identified that a lot of people are not enabling auditing into their databases. And Microsoft is also recommending you to do it and put the audit logs into a separate repository. So we are using Azure Storage in this case. Um, but the idea is that taking those audit logs out, so if something happens to your Azure AD, you can also identify the secret auditing. I have done a couple of sessions on this topic itself on how can use blockchain to secure your secure data. But the idea is to make sure that at any point of time your data is secure in a SQL Server setup, so you can look for it. And it's a very big topic in itself, so I've spent like more hours on explaining this topic. But this is just to give you a higher idea on what are the possibilities, because there are endless possibilities in fact. So the another one is encryption. So TDE as we call it. So it's very important that we have it on. So it is on by default, but we have two different options. You can either use the service managed keys, which is managed and rotated by Microsoft, or you can use a custom managed key. And if you have created your own key and then if you have rotated them, if you're not managing it, good for you. If you have done it, you might know how painful it is to create these keys and then manage these keys, making sure that you have a rotation policy in place, and then you're updating these keys periodically. Uh, so it's very, very important that you keep on doing that, or leave it to SMK as well if you don't want to go into customer managed keys. Um, Coming back to one of the topics of Azure Defender. So Azure Defender is one of the main tooling of Microsoft. So there are different options. So Defender for endpoint and Defender for cloud. It's the concept of MDE and HDR. So it's an industry standard. So you need to have a response on detection. So you need basically a tooling which can identify what is happening, if something is happening, and how you're going to react on that. So I'm going to talk a bit into detail about it. And before I do, I am going to come here. So it is as simple as coming over here or going to Defender. So what I'm going to do is, instead of going from the SQL view, I will go from the Defender view. So you can filter down on your subscriptions, and you can also use something called management group. So if you don't know what it is, I can quickly show you. So like I have segregated my Azure sponsorship subscription, for my Visual Studio subscription, and I can then manage them individually and then assign some sort of policies, separately manage them in a different way, have different internal policies for them. So it's one of the best practices that we used to have segregation. So the idea is to basically segregate your needs based on customers, based on the nature of the job. For example, you might have some internal environment that should be separated from your customer environments. Similarly, your internal environment should have different level of policies, but your customer environment should have the highest level of strictness into it. You cannot have the same level of strictness to use some of your internal environment. So you need to manage and identify and segregate the policies for them accordingly. And yeah, so talking about Azure Defender. So I was talking about Defender. So I can, for example, I can come over here and then go back and then come over here, my bad, and then filter on just this substitution for now, and then go back to Defender. And see what is my how's my resource looking, how's my substitution looking. Of course, this is my playground, so it's not the most secure substitution out here. um, but I talk about security poster with you in the start. So what it does, it analyzes all your resources, and based on that it gives you some sort of recommendations and gives you some sort of scoring. And you can see out of 20 I have 13 resources which are insecure. So I can go over here and then click on view recommendations. So based on this IIC, I have a different recommendation for this account. This is based on the recommendation. There are different points associated to it. By, you see, I was talking about MFA being one of the most basic um, thing, and because it's my internal account, I have nothing over there which is needed to be secure. I just play around with this account. I have my actual accounts which are much more secure, so I have different accounts and different, I have access to different subscriptions altogether, and my work related subscriptions are completely different, and my personal subscription where I'm hosting my own stuff are also different, and I manage them separately. This is an account which I just use for the demo purposes itself, and hence I keep on playing with it and then removing it, adding it, and then hence you can see that MFA is not installed. But as I was saying, that it is very important, and you see over here I can gain 18% more. So 18 points more on the my secure score by just enabling the MFA. And if you see over here, similarly, you have different recommendations apart from this. You just follow them, but and then making sure that you are reaching to a stage where you are closest to 100. We make sure that we are at 100% at any point of time, but we have. So one of the learnings that we have done is instead of we manually adding and looking into the secure score and then fixing it, whatever we identifies on these, we automate it with our infrastructure as a code. So we do anything and everything with infrastructure as a code, and and then and then basically we make sure that at any point of time we can scan it out and implement with the automation. That's the idea. So automated, repeated, and put all the best practices assigned over there into your infrastructure as a code itself is what I recommend to you as well. So at any point of time, your secure score, whenever you're creating a new infrastructure, it's secure from day one. Um, then I also wanted to talk about compliance. Sorry. So We have security benchmarks that we can utilize, but also apart from that, we also have different benchmarks. So it's not enabled on this subscription. What I'm going to do is come back. My bad. Let me close this shell out and go to the directory filter again. Enable all just to showcase you. Going back, going back. Go. You see, by default, so ISO 27001 is retired. So they have the newer version. So it's not the latest. So the latest is 22. We are 2701 compliant at any point of time. So we, as my company, we make sure that we are 2701 and 27017 compliance. As part of us being a SaaS company, we host our customers' data, and we have to make sure that we are putting in the best compliance as well. So you have to make sure that your systems are compliant as well. Similarly, PCI and SOC controls as well. So you see that I have to onboard the new dashboards, but the idea is that you can come over here and identify the controls that different controls that is there in the compliance. And what it does, the defender does for you is scan it out for you and give some things are relevant to you and some things are not. The things that they are relevant, they will be either green or red. If they are not relevant, they will be grayed out to you. So you might have to identify it manually, so it cannot be automated with the dashboard. Or in another instance, you might have to basically manually do it. So if you see over here, like I have one thing which is not complying with one of the recommendation in the PCI. Uh, what you can also do is coming on here and coming to the policies. So you can create something called blueprints, or basically come over here and define the policies. You can create your own policies or look for the initiatives that are already given from Microsoft. So one of them is also ISO 27001. So if you see, you have bunch of different policies, but you can also include different initiatives and also incorporate these policies for your subscription. So the idea is that Azure Defender is a security tool or service, basically that protects your whole organization. It can assess your whole organization. So it has different options of securing your. Coming back to this, so you can look at your security posture by analyzing it. You can look at the regulatory compliance. You can use the workload protection. So you can have something called just-in-time access on your virtual machine. So by default, it does not have so it does not allow you to access it. So RDP port is not open, but the RDP port will be open on that virtual machine for a specific amount of time, for a specific IP address that you can access and manage it and audit it with this just-in-time access as well. Similarly, doing a overall DevOps lifecycle from the starting of planning, then developing, then releasing the code. You basically can secure it out with the Defender as well. So it Defender helps you to identify a threat. It looks for all the vulnerabilities, virus, and all sort of those stuff, and it looks into different security tooling, and it gives you recommendations and alerts based on that. But what you can do is you can take all this data, the data from Microsoft Defender, from your firewall, from all the different places, the activity logs, and then set up something called as SIM. And what is a SIM? So we have an offering called SIM. We call it Sentinel. So SIM offering in Azure is Sentinel. And over here, what it will do is it will basically come here. It will give you a capability of analyzing a security threat and also work on the security threat and do some sort of automation to block it or basically take actions on it. So I was talking about incident response to you guys. So take care of that incident response part. So you can create your incidents. It will be automatically created with the data ingesting into log analytics, which will be used underneath of this Sentinel. And then uh, then with automation, you can put everything in place, making sure you're getting alerted, and then your team, a SOC analyst, knows what to do and how to do it. So I think we are running out of time. So I will jump back on the PPT and quickly close up. So we looked into the secure score, firewall, and secret protection. Similarly, we talk about XDR, detection report, how Defender can work on it. Um, I talk about these three things as well. So talking about having a single directory, it's very important. People have different accounts. They are not manageable. It's not the right strategy. Go for one and then forward. That's my recommendation. Then identity access. I talk about keys, and if you have used any keys, it's very difficult to manage it. So these are the things that you have to identify when you're architecting it, because when you make an architecture, when you design an architecture, it's going to be there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So you have to make sure that you build in security in your architecture itself, so that you don't have to pay the bigger price afterwards. um, so use Azure AD authentication, use best practices around there, and I've already shown you something around these things. But I specifically want to mention one thing, and this is a common mistake that I have seen as well in my sessions, in my consulting with a lot of the companies, that they use the same accounts for the admin, and it's not the best practice. I recommend to use different accounts for your day-to-day work, and then to use some admin activities if you are not doing that, or have at least a break glass account. So break glass account have this access to everything, but you make sure that you have a very super strong password and there is only few people who have access to it, so it will be only used in an emergency. And in a mayday, if you hack, if there is a breach and it's and hacker has the access and you are removed, you use this big glass account in those kind of mayday scenario. So a lot of people, a lot of companies does not have any strategy on these in a, let's say, how you're going to react on these incidents. That's why I was mentioning that you need to put device processes in place to make sure that you have identified um, different scenarios, and you take care of it. I have a very bad example in an analogy. I don't want to bring it up, but I will still do it. So 9/11, it was a tragic incident, and when it happened, when the plane was hijacked by the terrorists, at that point of time, we didn't knew how to handle it. So the pilot didn't knew how to handle it. There was no. They were afraid that okay, these people, these terrorists might kill innocent civilians. And what happened? They allowed them in the cockpit and then they crashed the whole plane into the buildings, right? Uh, Now, after that, it is not possible because US and all the other countries has put a policy in place that okay, what happens? Even if there is a hijack and they are killing civilians, the pilot will not open the cockpit at all. So they will lock the cockpit out and they will not open the cockpit at all. So putting together the policies, making sure how you're going to react in a mayday scenario. No one wants to be in that mayday scenario, but you need to prepare for it. And it's very, very important so that you can safeguard a lot of things and you act rationally in case of a disaster, if and when it happens. A bonus policy, I know I talk about 10. I have a bonus policy, which I think is very, very important. So what I have seen during my career is there are a lot of different teams who are working in silos, and they are not coordinating. So there is some strategy from the networking team. So networking team is trying to secure the infrastructure accordingly. The IT team is working on their own, and then the platform teams are working on with their own strategy, but they don't have a clear vision and the same vision. So it's very important that you have a same strategy. You break these silos down, work together as one team, and make sure that you have the same journey. You are moving into that journey of getting a better security posture together, and and then basically identify it for you. So make sure that strategy is there. Make sure that you all together work together as one team, and then based on those strategies, have a senior that you have chief security officer who is a dedicated person assigned by the company, and then he or she take cares of this activity, and then not have silos built in, because that's very common. That's what I have seen in my career. Is talk about what of the stuff that are mentioned in this slide. But think of this slide as Gita, so Bhagavad Gita. So as they say that all your life questions has answers in Bhagavad Gita. So if you read Bhagavad Gita, you will have a lot of your life queries answered. And similarly for security, I think you can take a photo of this right now and then keep referring to it. Then go to different topics that you can see over here. And then based on that, keep reading about it. So there would be one day that you'll be able to understand this whole, but it's going to be a journey. um, I wish I had another option of explaining this in detail, but I think I did a decent job right now to give you different aspects of it, so to open up your frame of mind around it. And yeah, so I think use this for your IAS and pass setup, and this will basically gives you some sort of a clarity on how you should design or get your secure solution. So yes, just a quick recap. So we talk about the best practices. We talk about how it's important to have people, process, and technology in place. We looked into few of the technologies that's out there that we can utilize with firewalls, with MFA, with threat detection, with Sentinel as well as Defender for cloud. And then we also talk about having some architecture decisions, having single strategy, and also managing access control and having single directory as well. So that brings to the end of the session. So thank you for attending your sessions. Now I'm open for questions. And if you want if to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to scan this QR code and reach out to me. If you have any questions after this session, I will be happy to answer your questions. I will be also monitoring the comment sections for a few days and see if there are any open questions over there, and I will be happy to answer them if and when they comes. So I see a question. If there is any option in Azure to virus scan files, yes. So Defender will be able to analyze and do the vulnerability scanning for you, and also the virus scanning. So there are solutions. There are some anti-malware as well as virus scanning that you can implement with Azure. It depends on the solution that you're using, whether you're using IAS or SAS or PAS. But there are options with Defender that you can implement. I'm open for another questions if we have any. I see no questions, so probably I will I will basically let you go through the session, think about it, and then give you a chance to go back and then look into these different aspects that we talk about. And then again, I shared my LinkedIn details with you. So feel free to connect to me and then reach out for any questions that you have. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Over to you, Ashmita.
Thank you, Mohit. I've also shared your LinkedIn URL in the chat section. So if people wanted to see your LinkedIn profile later, they can also, go through
Sure.
and, you know, make connection, ask questions regarding the session. So thank you so much, Mohit, for hosting the session at Reactor. And thank you all for joining us today. Please do share your feedback about today's session, and also feel free to use the Learn module link, which I've already shared in the chat section. This will give you access to additional resources to take your learning further. Also, please visit our Microsoft Reactor Bengaluru meetup page for more upcoming sessions. Thank you all once again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.